My name's Martin, and I'm dyslexic. My name's Martin, and I am a dyslexic. My name's Martin, and I'm a dyslexic Englishman. My name's Martin, and I'm a person with dyslexia. My name's Martin, and I have dyslexia. Okay, so we've got a conflict, as it were, between identity first language and person first language, and within each of these we have differences in how we express that. A lot of people don't like person first language. They seem to assume that it turns my dyslexia into baggage almost. So I'm a person with dyslexia. Sounds a little bit like, I'm a person with a handbag, or I'm a person with a wallet, or at worst, I'm a person with a disease, I'm a person with an illness. You might say I'm a person with, I don't know, with cancer or something perhaps, uncomfortable like that. But I don't buy that for a second. So for instance, I'm a person with value. I'm a person with a history. I'm a person with hopes. I'm a person who has ideals. These are not extrinsic to me. And so I don't think that we necessarily need to say that person-first language turns my dyslexia into something extrinsic. Some people claim that the opposite can often sound ugly. I'm a dyslexic person. It can sometimes sound ugly to some people. Well, again, I don't buy that either. I'm a happy person. I'm a sad person. This is quite common language. So I think a lot of the time, really, the decision of whether to have person-first language or identity-first language isn't a grammatical decision. It's not a decision about whether one type of language carries this kind of message and another kind of language carries that kind of message. Because actually language carries the message that we want it to carry. The words that we use don't have single meanings. The words that we use often have the meanings within the context in which we use them. And so simply saying, I'm a person who has dyslexia is a little bit like saying I'm a person who has a cold. That doesn't quite work, because I'm a person who has hopes and fears and I'm a person who has value. And that doesn't work like that. Some people might even say that saying I'm a dyslexic person minimizes me. It puts the dyslexia before me. But again, I'm not certain that I buy that, because, I'm an Englishman. I'm a happy man. I'm a valuable member of society. We can say all of these things, and it doesn't devalue the person at all. I think the problem comes when those who say we need person-first language look at those who say we need identity-first language and criticize them. Or vice versa, those who say we need identity-first language look at those who say we need person-first language and criticize them. Because remember this, we are in the game of inclusion. What we cannot be doing is telling people that their language to describe themselves is wrong, because this is not inclusive. What we need to do is we need to listen to the way that people describe themselves, and we need to accept that and celebrate it and say, this doesn't diminish the way that I describe myself. It doesn't diminish the way that others describe themselves, and it doesn't place any normative constraints on how we can describe ourselves. So if I use person-first language, it doesn't tell others that they have to use person-first language. If I use identity-first language, I'm not telling others that they have to use identity-first language. It's not inclusive to tell people how to describe themselves. And it's not inclusive to potentially denigrate or attack those who describe themselves differently from how we do. So I think one of the big takeaways is that regardless of whether we use person-first language, I'm a man with dyslexia, or regardless of whether we use identity-first language, I'm a dyslexic man, what we need to do is we need to be inclusive of those who are different from us. Because let's be honest, as soon as we start being exclusive of those who talk about themselves and who talk about their dyslexia, or their experiences of being dyslexic differently from how we talk about ours. As soon as we start being exclusive within our own community, it's difficult for others to listen to us and think inclusion. Because if we're not inclusive, what kind of message are we sending others who are not part of this community?